Parents, QLEs, and TSP on today's FennoBabble.
Welcome to FennoBabble, everyone. I'm Kevin Jones, and we try to make your federal retirement benefits understandable for humans. It's hard, but we do.
Yes. And I'm Cassie Knight. We take your questions from viewers and listeners like yourself who submit them at fednobabble.com, and also from Kevin's workshops and webinars that he does with the Fed Pilot program. And we just try and make them understandable for you and answer them the best we can on the show here. So let's jump into it. Kevin, what's the first question?
Do you have any recommendations for long-term care programs for care for an employee's parents beyond or instead of the federal long-term care? So I think basically what it says overall is that we know that within the federal long-term care insurance program, it's not just the federal employees who can be covered. It can be the spouse, adult children, and parents, parents-in-law, step-parents, even same-sex domestic partners can be covered under the federal long-term care program. So they're asking, can the employee's parents, actually what they're asking is instead of the long-term care program, are there other programs that can cover my parents instead of me covering my parents through this?
Yeah, and absolutely. I mean, the federal long-term care insurance program, I don't think people realize that it's actually a John Hancock product.
Right.
It's just kind of wrapped in a government wrapper with a fancy name, but the provider is actually a private insurance group like John Hancock. And so I would definitely say do your due diligence and go out and talk to somebody, whether you have a financial planner or not, an insurance professional. If you don't have someone, let us know. We can definitely get you to one of our trusted advisors in one of our advisors in our trusted network, and we'll be able to, they'll be able to answer that for you. But I would definitely say that even if you are considering the federal long-term care program, that you should still get quotes from other companies, because that doesn't just because it's the federal long-term care insurance program doesn't mean that you can't look elsewhere for a better premium.
Right. And I'm gonna take it a little bit deeper here. With the federal long-term care, when someone gets their parents on, it isn't like healthcare where, hey, I can just throw my kids on, and get a family or a self plus one. It is a separate policy for that parent in this case, in the federal long-term care. So they have to go through their own health check. They have to pay for it themselves, but they get it through you. Well, I'll say through you. No, I'll say because of you, through the federal long-term care insurance program. So if you can get it through that, then you should be able to get it through an outside one as well. But then here's another issue that comes up. We just keep adding issues on top of issues here, is that there are honestly only about 5 of those companies left that provide traditional long-term care policies. They've all stopped. Well, I don't want to say all, obviously, but all but a few have stopped giving out long-term care insurance overall because it's not nearly as profitable as it was. In fact, you mentioned John Hancock. John Hancock doesn't even provide long-term care for anyone outside of the federal government. So
that's right.
Yeah.
And you have to think about, if this person is looking at it for their parents, how insurable they are.
Right.
Because with traditional long-term care policies, it's a lot like life insurance where you have to qualify medically for that. And there are certain things that, will disqualify you for a type of program like this. And there may their in there. If they have other assets, there can be living benefits and things like that that might be more beneficial for them than a traditional long-term policy, and make that money stretch a little bit than just simply long-term care.
Yep, exactly. So again, a lot there to think about when it comes to one simple question. At least, it should be a pretty simple answer, but it's not. You can you dive down a little bit deeper and it's a little bit more complicated. Okay, next question. Can you change your FEGLI at
Absolutely.
any time or just a life event? What do you think?
So, well, I know the answer to this one.
This,
It's strictly a life event, but also during rare open seasons, do they allow people to do this as well?
right.
I think in the past 10 years, though, there's only been one open season, so they're not consistent.
Mm,
It's not something where they, like FEHB open season, where they do it on an annual basis or, any sort of consistent basis at all. Um, and even when there was the open season, I think there was a lot of confusion about how that worked because your coverage didn't go in place right away. So to answer this question, you can change your FEGLI or you can increase your FEGLI at any time.
yeah.
Okay, I'm sorry, you can increase your FEGLI during a life event. You
Okay.
cannot increase your FEGLI at any time. I said that wrong. But you can decrease it at any time. So if you're looking to get rid of coverage, you can do that at any point of your career or retirement.
Right. And that's
Right?
I'm glad you pointed out because that was the one thing I wanted to make sure we understood is change could be add to, or it could be take away.
Mhm.
So you can take away at any time, but you can't add to, nor can you increase. So if you're at, let's say, option B and you are at 1 times your salary, you cannot increase that at or to 5 times your salary.
Right.
Besides a life event. Now, there is one other way that you can increase it, and that is if you go get a health check, if you go specifically qualify for it at that point.
Here's the thing, though, that also converts it from the federally group life insurance program into your own private program
Mm,
with MetLife. Okay, so it converts it from the regular 5-year term, which is what they have with FEGLI, to a permanent policy because now they've qualified medically and now they're insured with MetLife directly through a conversion. Okay,
okay.
I
It
don't know
just
if
gets more
MetLife is going to be the
complicated.
best for you. Yeah,
Yeah,
uh, there's there's definitely a whole lot more on that part that we can get into.
right. Yeah, it's just interesting that one step leads to another complication, leads to, oh my goodness, okay, well then it changes. Well, how does that work? And then you just keep going. So I think if a federal employee, when when they start their federal service and they get FEGLI and they get life or health insurance and they start their TSP and they don't change anything in any of those and they don't change agencies and they don't do anything, they're still not going to do very well overall because you want to change things up, right? You want to say,
Yeah.
oh, I need to change my health insurance and I need to do this with my TSP. Things have to change. And if someone just goes in and says, this is what it is, and they just keep their FEGLI the way it is, and then, oh my goodness, now I have children and you know what, maybe I need to change something. And it gets, at any time it starts getting complicated like that.
Yeah, I mean, you need to make sure that these benefits are changing with you and your
Yeah,
lifestyle, right? I
yeah,
mean, what a single person at 20 needs to have is a lot different than even a single person at age 50,
yep,
right? And of course, if you throw marriage in there and children and divorces and all of these different factors into a life, of a person, then, obviously that needs to change your benefits too. And you want to make sure that you're keeping up, not only to keep the best rates, but just to make sure that these are the most advantageous for you and your family.
Right.
And maybe Fagley isn't a good fit for you, or maybe part of Fagley is a good fit, but now you need other health insurance on the outside because of the limitations that are with Fagley.
Yeah.
Um,
Go for it.
if you have any questions about life insurance or Fagley, let us know. We will get you in touch with one of our advisors in our trusted network who can help you answer those questions specifically to your unique needs.
Yep. And they're not going to sales pitch you. They're going to just
Nope.
give you the facts. They're going to give you the options. And again, in the last episode, we talked a little bit about this, but you mentioned that things change throughout your life. And so you got to make sure that you're doing it right for that stage of your life, which again, you gotta talk to someone who, for that stage of your life, you're making sure that you're doing it right so that it sets you up for retirement in the future. So I'll just
Yeah,
put it
and
in
they've
another.
got to understand these benefits too. I mean,
Yep.
before you even get into, whether or not I should have Fagley, you've got to take a look at what you have
Yeah.
and find out, do I have enough? If I overinsuring myself, what does that look like? And what does that do the premiums in the future? And all of those different factors. And that's what I love about the folks that we have in our network is they get that report and they start from where you are now. They look at those numbers and then they come up with some solutions if there's any adjustments that need to be made. And of course, that's no cost, no obligation. You don't have to move forward with them, but knowledge is power. And our whole goal with this show is to provide encouragement for employees to take hold of their benefits and own them.
Yeah.
You guys get them. Let's make sure that they're working the best for you.
You mentioned knowledge is power. I just interviewed a federal retiree who had retired in June of 2020. So as of this recording, it's what, 4 months later or so.
Yeah, 5 months
And
ago.
and and I said, okay, what's one piece of advice that you have for someone who's going to retire? She said, learn as much as you can, get all the information that you can, and just how important that is, because she had overall a really simple retirement, but it
Mhm.
didn't turn out simple. I mean, it got
Oh,
complicated,
no.
and she thought it was going to be basic, but she ran into problems with HR and OPM and trying to do some things that should have been done a long time ago that weren't. So again, knowledge is power, not only of the rules and laws of your complicated federal benefits, but also how
Mhm.
they impact you personally. That's
Right.
another level of knowledge that has to happen as well. So,
Absolutely.
okay.
Okay. I think we have another question, Kevin. So let's move.
Where can I find out what I am in for TSP? I think they're saying is where can I find out how much money I have in the TSP or how much I'm contributing to the TSP? I think that's what they're
Yeah.
saying.
It sounds like they want to have that overview and just generally be able to have that knowledge about their TSP. And that's very simple. You just go to tsp.gov and you can get a login there. There might be a couple of steps that you have to go through. If you have any questions, call the TSP number, select option 3, and that should be able to get you to a live person who can be able to answer any question that you might have, and
I
should
think
be
it
able to.
I think it's great how you know what option.
Okay, listen.
You've done this so
When
much that you know the options. Okay, 1 is for this, 2 is for this, 3 is for that. It just cracks me up. I don't know.
when you're working with employees, which I was, a few years ago, then I had to help them get into how do I get my TSP information. This is actually not an uncommon question. You would think that people
Huh.
would, know how to do this and it would be easy, but it's not. It's like many other federal government things. It can get complicated. Um, yeah. So, anyways,
So good. Yes. So again,
dial the 1-800 number and press option 3 if you want to talk to a live person.
there you go. So if you want to know what the other options are for or how to do other things in your TSP, one thing you can do obviously is go to fedandbabble.com and sign up, and we will get you to one of the advisors in our trusted network, and they're going to answer all the questions for you, and they're going to do this report. Actually, Cassie does the report, and Cassie will do a report for you, and then the advisor will go over it with you and explain it all to you. No cost, no obligation, no sales pitch, just knowledge is basically what it is.
That's right. That's right. And also please like and subscribe, share share this video, follow us on Facebook, and subscribe to YouTube, and just help us to get the word out there and be others who are in your situation, who have lots of questions about what happens to their benefits. And thank you guys for watching.
Take care.